I built a team of virtual assistants from the Philippines to run my e-commerce business that does $1 million a year in revenue. And I did it without any experience leading people. I'm Zach. In 2021, my life was consumed by the low value, repetitive work of the business. And days would go by. I would feel busy, but I wasn't really that productive. That's when I found out about hiring overseas. In this video, I'll show you exactly how I would rebuild that team from scratch in just 14 days. So you can buy back your time and scale your net profit. This is the exact process we've used to place over 25 savage hires, from 7-figure marketing agencies to 8-figure e-commerce sellers and beyond. This has the power to completely alter the course of your life, just like it did mine, so it's time to lock in. Virtual assistant is a very broad term. It can mean a lot of different things, but how I define it is someone that can handle the tasks of your business from any country in the world. Now, when we open ourselves up to the global talent pool, we can find really great work ethic, really great value from countries like the Philippines and pay them $3 to $5 an hour. And I'm not talking about robot customer service tech support. I'm talking about right-hand operators that are gonna crush it for your business, whether it be your outreach systems, your email management, your logistics, your copywriting, your bookkeeping, your project management. There's so many different tasks that our clients have delegated off to virtual assistants. Like basically anything that you could teach to someone else, you can delegate to a virtual assistant. Now, when we delegate a task to a virtual assistant, we just bought back that time. Now, with that time we gain back, we can now allocate that towards the highest leverage things, the things that only we can do as the founder, as the business owner, and grow our net profit. Now, and most business owners stay stuck in like the in-between. They're doing everything themselves and their time is spent on all these low leverage tasks. And they think the only option is to hire overseas, pay $70,000 salary locally, but they never can get there because all their time is spent on the low value tasks. That's when they find out about hiring overseas and they realize that's the bridge to get there because they can get 4 full-time VAs for the same price as 1 local hire. So this is the best hiring strategy to implement in 2025 by far, even if you've never hired before. Now, if I were building my team from scratch, the 14-day campaign would involve day 1, where I launch the campaign, I write the job posting, I start driving traffic to the job posting, and I set up my application system. Week 1 would be actively managing that campaign, so reviewing applications as they come in, sending them to the follow-up steps, scheduling those initial interviews. Week 2 would be having the initial interviews, having the follow-up interviews, and then on day 14, I would close the campaign and send an offer letter to my top choices. So for day 1, we have to first figure out what it is that we want in a hire. So we don't just hire a general VA. We hire for specific responsibilities, specific tasks, specific problems to be solved in the business. And I always start with 2 to 3 core responsibilities. Now, if I don't know what those are gonna be yet, what I would run is a task audit. So for a week, I would use a notepad or a Google Sheet and go through writing down the tasks that I do throughout my day and how much time they took me. And then at the end of the week, I would rank them each by time commitment, so how much time I spent on that task in the whole week, and skill required, how easy I think it would be to teach that skill to someone else. The tasks that I spent the most time on the week and I think would be easiest to teach are gonna be the ones I delegate first. So I'm gonna narrow it down to 2 to 3 core responsibilities. Then I have to figure out if I want to hire someone with experience or not, because if I'm hiring with someone that has direct experience in this role, they're gonna be quicker to catch on, faster ramp up time, lower training investment, but I'm gonna have to pay a premium for their level of experience, and they might have bad habits coming in where I basically just have to reteach them how they do things anyway. Or I can hire for no direct experience, someone where they're a total blank slate and I can teach them my systems from scratch. There's no preconceived ideas. And most importantly, cheaper than hiring someone with experience. We don't have to pay that premium for their experience. Drawbacks here being there is going to be some more investment up front training them to get up to that point, but I'm not having to pay that premium salary in perpetuity. Now, if I were building my team up from scratch, I would definitely start off with no direct experience, someone that is a blank slate to teach on my ways, because I don't have to pay that premium for the experience in perpetuity, so it's better value, and I can focus on the character, the person they are, how well I think they're gonna do long-term with my team, rather than just a nice resume. Then I have to figure out how much I wanna pay. So if I'm looking for no direct experience, for the Philippines, I find the $500 to $900 a month full-time range to work best. In that, I'm looking for someone that has really strong English, high computer proficiency, like they've used Excel, they've used CRMs, project management. They have an eagerness to learn. They're long-term oriented. I could see myself with them for many years to come. And really just, I enjoy speaking with them. I want someone where I I want to look forward to hopping on a call with them. And so that's the price range I find to work best for salary in the Philippines. If I'm hiring for someone with direct experience in the role, I'm going to look upwards of $1,800 a month full time. In that, I'm going to be looking for those base mindset requirements, but then also actual competence in the skill. And I have to be able to test for the skill to make sure that they're actually competent. Now, in the job postings, I will always start with a range, and we'll talk about a little later how I use that. So now that we've figured out these specifics, it's time to launch the campaign. Now, writing the job posting, most people will just type in what they want into ChatGPT and they'll copy and paste what it says. But then you look like every other job posting. I mean, you got to think about it from an applicant's perspective. You know, they're probably, say they have a goal of like, oh, I want to apply to 5 different jobs today. Then you're just number 3. I want them to read the job posting and be like, wow, this sounds like a great opportunity, because not only does it increase the amount of people that actually follow through with applying for it, but when I have them moved on to these next steps, they're more inclined to follow through and give it their max effort because they remember how much that original job posting spoke to them. So I do that by first writing it in an authentic way and giving them a clear value proposition. I mean, you know about it in sales of like why someone should work with you, but I applied the same concept to hiring, to talent. Why should you apply and why should you work with my team? Now, there's 3 main ways I do this. The first one is through bonus potential. So how could they achieve more money? Growth. So how could they grow through our company, different roles? And I think the big one is selling the team culture, because people will take lower pay if it means that they're part of an environment they want to be in. So that's something I talk about in our job postings, in our interview process, is what our team is actually like. I want to sell them on how great it is to work with us. Now, I'll open up a actual job posting we have live right now for a client. It's for a software executive assistant. So we have the salary right here at the top, clear. Deadline to have some urgency. Then a little blurb here. Must-haves. If this is an experience role, we're going to put that on the first line. And then the other ones are just stuff that we have on every job posting. So fluent in English, currently based in the Philippines, professional workstation, stable internet. Nice-to-haves, things that would be cool if they had on their resume in their background. Core responsibilities, the 3 things that they're going to be most responsible for. Expectations, so like working hours and exclusive commitment to one client, no freelancing. The application process, they know what's going to come next. And then the compensation and benefits. Start date, holidays, PTO, that kind of stuff. So now that we have our job posting live, people are going to start applying to it, right? No, we have to actually drive traffic to that job posting. We can't hire great people if great people never see the job posting. So we do that by posting everywhere, maximizing the surface area, putting it in front of the right people. I mean, if you get 50 applicants, you can't be very picky. You got to be pretty lenient with your requirements. You can't really get what you want. You got to, make compromise. But if I'm getting thousands of people to see this job posting, I can be picky and find the actual people that are most suited for the role, not just ones that are a good enough fit. So the first one I do is LinkedIn jobs. So I'll come down here to post a free job, start with my job description, and then just paste what we have in the job posting here under the description. And then on here, I am going to change the manage application. So there's 2 ways to do this. You can have applicants directly on LinkedIn, or you can send them to an external website. Now, I've always done the external website, sending them to this link, but I haven't really found the external website one to work that best. So right now we're doing them on LinkedIn directly. So one of my team members will go through and send the ones we think will be a good fit actually to the URL in DM. But there are 2 ways you can go about that on LinkedIn, and then make the job posting. Then we have online jobs. Now, if you've heard of hiring overseas, you might have heard of this one before. It's basically just a job board strictly for hiring from the Philippines. Same sort of thing. You put in a job title, job description, salary. Now, the difference here is all this has to be done on platform, and the UI is not the best for sorting and filtering, but it's a good option. You can get a lot of applicants. You will have to have a vetting process though, but it's definitely a common choice. We do not use it anymore, but if I were launching from scratch, I might be using it. Other one is going to be Facebook groups. So as you can see, I'm logged into a bunch of different Facebook groups, graphic designers in the Philippines, general VA hiring in the Philippines. So I'd post in here like a little blurb of what we're hiring for, the salary, and a graphic, so it takes up more of the screen, especially good for experienced roles. Then the big one, my favorite one, is Facebook ads. Now, I want to be clear here. I am not a media buyer in any way, shape, or form, but I use it strictly for hiring campaigns. So I would launch a campaign here, always do a leads objective, and then I would come down here. Daily budget, I would do like $10 a day, and then come here to special ad categories, have to do employment, and then choose the Philippines. Now, you may be like, Facebook ads, aren't those so expensive? But it's actually per country. So when we launch these campaigns in the Philippines, the cost of impressions is way lower. So we can get job postings. The cost to get these ads in front of people is way cheaper. So conversion, I would choose website, and then I would put in that job posting. I would have a conversion event for when someone finishes the application. It sends them to a success page. And then I would come down here to set the audience as just the entire country. Now that's one thing with doing a special ad category. You can't do any targeting. So you're just targeting the entire country of the Philippines. And then placements, I would do strictly just Facebook feed, mobile, and desktop. I wouldn't do any of the other placements. So I launched that campaign and test a couple different creatives, whether it be like the photo that we're using and the copy as to what is actually showing up on the ad. And then the last option would be working with a recruiter. So if I didn't have all of the knowledge, all the context I do now, this is what I would do. Basically borrow all of those years of experience from someone else that could present me with only the top options that fit what I'm hiring for. So now the applications are going to start pouring in hundreds, thousands. And so I need a way to start filtering them down to just the top ones. So I would set up my 4-level vetting protocol. So I would start off with the initial application, then move the good ones on to the written response, then schedule initial 20-minute interviews, and then have the follow-up interview. So let's start off with the initial application. So this is actually what our initial application process looks like right now. I built this custom for us internally. And so I'd put in the email here, and it does save my progress as I go, how they found us with their current employment status, years of experience with the role, uploading my resume, my English proficiency, so it'll take me to this English test here, and then I enter in the result that I got. Then my speed test, so it'll take me to the speedtest.net, and then I put in a screenshot of my speed test, and then I would do the video response. So it's 2 questions here. What is something not included on your resume that you are proud of? I'm proud of making this video. What is a personal project you're working on outside of work? Big muscles. And then I would submit my application, and I would say, "Ooh, all right, you did it." Okay. And then I would start reviewing these applicants. So my immediate disqualifiers here would be bad English test, bad speed test, no work in over a year, their work status, if they're trying to work for multiple clients, and what their video response looks like. If they didn't have a light on, they didn't have a shirt on. So if we pull up our admin page here, I can actually see exactly my application. And so I would start reviewing my applicants, seeing the immediate disqualifiers like the speed test. I would disqualify because he didn't spend a speed test. His English obviously is bad, years of experience, employment, all this stuff we entered. And so I would start filtering through these applications, seeing if they fit. And then I would check out their video response, see what they actually said in the video, and basically like using it as a pre-interview. I know what to expect in the interview based on how they did in this video response. So the good ones there, I would move on to the next step. I would hit approve here, and it would immediately send them to our next step. A rejection would send them a rejection email. So in the deeper analysis, I'm looking at a couple things. Are they reading from a script? Because you'll get that often. How would I rate their answer to the question? If they claim that they had like a C1, C2 English score, does their fluency in the video response match someone who has that score? Does their resume align with what I need? And based on our years of data and my intuition, is there anything I can notice, any patterns that I see in them that have done well in past applicants? The best ones here have a resume that shows they stay in the same company for a while and are just recently available or still currently in work. Their video response answers are authentic to them, something that only they could say. They came prepared for the video. Maybe they tossed on like a nice shirt, they have a coat on, and they have a professional vibe to them. I can tell they didn't just wake up out of bed and start recording the video. Now, the next step, level 2 of our vetting process, is going to be the written response. So before I even read their written response, the first thing I'm looking at is time to completion. So how quickly did they complete the assessment? Because in this email that I send to them with the next step, I say, please submit within 24 hours. So did they submit it within that allotted time? How quickly did they submit it? Did they acknowledge my email? Say back, hey, received this, just completed it. If this is a direct experience role, this written response Google form would have specific situations they would face in the role to test how well they actually are experienced. If it's a more general, no direct experience role, it's going to be situations they would find themselves in any role. Immediate disqualifiers would be ChatGPT responses. Those are very obvious to tell. They just copied and pasted it right in. If they did low effort, they only sent one sentence. If it took them more than 48 hours to complete, and if they have obvious English grammatical issues. The best ones here have an authentic voice, completed it within 24 hours, and sent a follow-up follow-up email just like this. So here's an example of an actual submission we got. You can see it starts off with a free response, very detailed answers, not ChatGPT stuff. And then we go through a couple different radio button. Then we end it with work-life balance. So now the ones that do well on that step, I'm going to send them a link to schedule on my Google Calendar. For this initial interview, I have some red and green flags. Red flags are going to be if they show up even a minute late to the call. That is not something I tolerate. Red flag. If they have background noise, they get a lot going on behind them. If their internet keeps cutting out, if they have clearly poor English, and if they don't even know what role they're applying for. Green flags are going to be if they showed up 5 minutes early to the waiting room, if they're in a quiet environment, they've done their background research, they know the company, they know the role, if they have future goals of leadership, and if they're all smiles on the call. Now, most of these take 20 minutes. Some of them are 5 minutes. If I get on the call and I'm facing those red flags and I'm like, look, out of respect for both of our times, I'm going to end it here. Now, this is the actual interview guideline that I use on all my interviews. I have it up on like the right portion of the screen. Start off with an intro, what to expect, how did you prepare for this? Then I have them walk me through their resume, basically from start to finish, especially focusing on the most relevant recent roles, confirming their current employment status, why they left their last role, and that would take up the first half. Then for the second half, I would deeper dive into what a typical routine would look like in that role, what softwares they were in, what KPIs they had, what their greatest contribution was, something they're not proud of, and then where they see themselves going in the future. And then to close it out, I end with talking about salary. I say basically like, look, the job posting has a fairly broad salary range. Where do you think you would place yourself for a starting salary? Then I'll wrap it up, let them know, thank them for their time, let them know what to expect for next steps. Some tips I would follow as an interviewer here would be to make it as close to a conversation as possible, because I find that's how I get people to actually speak from the heart and not just have like spitting off pre-prepared answers, interview answers. Always having follow-up questions and not just going question, answer, question, but like having a question, answering it, and then having a follow-up question based on that. Not being afraid to dig. So if they say something that I can tell might be an issue later, attacking it right there. Being fully present. I'm not clicking around. I'm not typing. I'm like listening to what they're saying, giving them my full attention, recording the call so I can watch it back later, and smiling back at them, making them feel comfortable being on this interview. The best interviews I have, I find myself nodding along with what they're saying and basically getting to the end of the call, and I'm like, wow, I could keep talking to you for a while. The fourth step of my vetting protocol always involves a follow-up interview. I've had follow-up interviews where I hopped on and I'm like, wow, this went totally different from that first interview. I'm so glad I had this one. So now I always have these follow-ups with a third person on the call, a second opinion. If I'm hiring my first one, I'd bring a friend on. If I already have a team member, I would have them on the call too. Do a quick background, quick elevator pitch basically, then go through questions on each side. If it's a skill role, go through some of that, and then wrap it up, let them know when they can hear from me next. Now in this interview, I'm really looking for team chemistry, especially if I have someone from my team on the call as well. I also want to share the skeletons in my closet. So being like basically downselling the role of like, look, this is a hard role. You know, we're a tough team. We only expect the best, so that we get that full commitment from them. I'm also trusting my instinct on this call. So if I feel like I'm getting bad vibes, I'm not going to follow through with it. I want to end this call with a hell yes. I can't wait to have this person on my team. When can they start? Now, I don't talk about that on the call directly. I'm not making an offer here because I want to make sure I digest and think about it. But once I'm ready, I'm going to start by finalizing the deal. So we have an offer letter draft that I would draft up for Timmy, my new admin assistant. I would put the retainer. Now, the one thing here, you have to make sure that it's very clear that this is a independent contractor arrangement. So I would be, say, offering $900 a month paid on the 1st and the 15th via wise.com. I would offer holidays, Philippines holidays, local and major, unlimited time off to take at their discretion as long as they give me notice, start date, NDA, work scheduling. I usually do flexible hours, termination, independent contractor status, and then signing the offer. Then I would prepare the NDA, so making the terms clear of conflict of interest, private data, that kind of stuff, and the W-8 Ben. Now, this is an internal form that you keep on record, basically saying that we don't have to file a W-2 or a 1099 for this contractor. So I would send those 3 documents off to the new team member and have them sign them and send them back to me. From there, I'm good to go. I have a new team member starting on Monday. To prepare for that, I'm going to make a 30, 60, 90-day plan so we know what to expect at each of those intervals and schedule the first onboarding meeting. Very exciting. And then from there, it's the infinite game of leadership, providing them the resources they need to be at their best. So a couple questions you might have on your mind. What about the time zone difference? If you're familiar with the Philippines, you would know that they're 12 hours from US EST time zone. So when you're waking up, they're just going to bed. It can be a problem. It can also be a huge benefit because they work while you sleep. And when you wake up, you have work to review. So your business runs 24/7. Now, if you require someone to be on during EST hours, a lot of them are very comfortable with that. They're already working for BPO companies, for Uber customer support. And so that's not a problem as well. Or you're saying, I don't have enough money to hire someone. Well, you might never have enough money to hire someone if you're spending all your time on these low leverage, low value activities. You're telling me if you bought back your time, an hour of your time for $5, more than $5 with that hour you got back? Next question. What if they mess up? That's why you start small and you slowly increase the responsibility over time as you build up that trust. Now, the fear of someone messing up is actually costing you more than any mistake they made would cost you. What if I don't know how to manage people? Neither did I. You simply learn by doing and iterating over and over again, figuring out what works and what doesn't. Basically just keeping their best interests in mind. And if you hire the right people, their best interest is to provide as much value to you as possible. So the next step is to launch your campaign today. You don't have to wait till next week. You don't have to wait till next month. There's not gonna be any more information. Launch the campaign today. You can do it in one day. And the sooner you launch it, the sooner you're gonna be able to buy back your time and start growing your net profit. In 1 week, you could be interviewing your future CEO. And if this sounds like a lot of work, from writing the job posting to vetting all these applicants to making that final hire, it's because it is. It's the same process we've done for dozens of 7 8-figure entrepreneurs to find them the top 1% of talent, and we can do that for you too. There's a full video breakdown on our website, scouttalented.com, on how our whole process works. I appreciate watching this one to the end, and I'll see you in the next video.